Cowboys lose again. Jerry Jones, as he always does, to the chagrin of anyone who has to actually, try to coach the team, he sucks all the oxygen out of the room by making himself available to the media constantly. Here he is after the game on yet another blowout loss in his glorious stadium where 3 nights earlier he made a lot of money for something that was supposed to be a boxing match. Here's Jerry Jones talking about his football team.
I don't know that there's anything but the obvious, and that is that we just aren't playing very well. Happens we're doing that at home for sure. We've had a big run of home games that we haven't done it. So we just aren't playing well, and it's several things out there for all the games, several things. And so, it's not really the amount of the score at home. It's not really. It's just the way we're playing.
And it's such a simple observation. Of course you're not playing well. It's like walking around your house saying, I'm not feeling well. And I haven't been feeling well for 11 weeks now. And I don't know, I'm just not feeling well. At some point you go to the doctor. At some point, you diagnose why it is you're not feeling well. At some point, you take the medicine necessary, go to rehab, whatever you have to do to make yourself feel better. These broad brush observations, I think, are offensive to the average fan, or at least should be, because it doesn't tell us anything. We know you're not playing well. This is about what do you do to play better. And I feel like, and I'm sorry, Mike, and this isn't a stray either, with Mike McCarthy, my constant criticism has been, I get the vibe there isn't nearly enough attention to detail as there should be. And for me, Bill Belichick is the absolute platinum standard of the level of obsession. There's a few other coaches that are up there as well. Sean Payton on the offensive side of the ball. Obsession with detail in every possible aspect, thinking of every potential thing and every little offshoot of every different issue and having a strategy for everything. And this is why we do what we do. And this is what we're doing wrong. And we're going to do it better. And these are the 27 reasons why this didn't go the way that we needed it to. And here's how we're going to address all 27 of those flaws. I've never felt like Mike McCarthy views football that way. He strikes me as classic old school, ripped out of the 50s, throw the guys out on the field and expect them to want it more or deserve it more, as the case may be, than the other team.
And there's probably some truth to that. And I think that's the reason Mike McCarthy's been a good coach is that method and that plan works because he understands, all right, I have a guy here who's better than that guy. I'm gonna take advantage of that matchup. The problem for McCarthy this year is the talent he had on his previous Cowboy teams and even the Cowboy team from a year ago, it's gone. They're not better than many people at different positions. And then you throw in the injury, you lose Dak Prescott. It's hard to be productive with that kind of coaching style when you just get talent ripped away from you. And I'm sitting here and we watch Jerry Jones soundbite. I'm always wondering after the game, does one reporter ask him, hey, over the years, has it shown to be productive for you to come down and do a scrum media interview after a game? Like, what is the productive level when you guys sit back and assess the situation? All teams do it, right? They go on their bye week, they self-scout, they look at all of the good plays, all of the bad plays, and you usually say, okay, these bad plays, this same play that we continue to run, whether on offense or defense, it continues to be a bad play. Scrap it. You throw it in the trash. I'm wondering, does like Jerry ever look back or somebody say, hey, Mr. Jones, let's look back and look and say, hey, when were the situations when you came down to the locker room and spoke and it was good? Like, where are those situations? I think he needs to do like Andy Reid does, right? Don't they say Andy Reid says, if I'm up at halftime, I'll do the halftime interview. If I'm down at halftime, I'm not doing a halftime interview. Like, it's that simple. I think Jerry Jones should say, hey, we win the game, I'm all yours. I'm coming down to the locker room, we're going to laugh, we're going to joke. If we lose, y'all are right. I'm hiding, I'm getting in my car, I'm going home. I hate to see this because as a football player, as a former player, I knew how hard it was, especially playing in New England with everything that would come out. And then some of the things that we helped come out, whether it was Deflategate or this or that, when you have to deal with that and try to win football games, it's so hard. And the Cowboys, every single time, you just continue to watch this and you're just like, how does this help? It's just, and I know you're about to dive deep on how it helps the Cowboys continue to make money and be in the spotlight. But it's just like to win games, it just makes it so much harder as a coach and player to have to always answer to something after already losing, having to answer to plays, play calls. You also have to answer to whatever the owner says. It's just so difficult.
No, and look, you know me well enough already to know that's the first place I'm going to go. Jerry Jones doesn't care about winning as much as he acts like he cares about winning. He cares about getting his fans to believe he's all in for winning. He cares about keeping them engaged. He thinks this is beneficial, being available like that after every game or after most games. Twice a week on 105.3 The Fan, the flagship station in Dallas-Fort Worth, making himself available there. This is part of the sales effort to make your team interesting. He said this from the witness stand at the Sunday ticket trial this past summer. The other side of it too, Devin, and it's as simple as this. Basic human stuff. He likes being a big shot. He likes being able to walk out there and have this swarm of reporters stick their phones and recorders in their face and hang on every word he says. He likes being E.F. Hutton. That's a dated reference that you probably don't know what that is. You can Google it after the show or during, as the case may be. But he likes the fact that he's the alpha. He's the alpha of the alphas. He's the guy when he walks into a room, even in his 80s, everybody stops what they're doing and they run over to see what Jerry's going to say because they know he's going to say something. And a lot of it may be nonsense, but he's going to give them something that they can use, something interesting, because that's what, from his perspective, that's what this is all about. It's one big show, and he's been wired, and it's been successful, and I think that feeds into it. Anytime we have an idea that works and it leads to success, we lean into it even more, and then it works some more. We lean into it even more. And over the past 35 years, he's morphed into this carnival barker who really doesn't care about winning games. He cares about filling the stadium, being in prime time, being America's team, and I think it makes it more impressive that he's managed to keep his team at this profile when they haven't done anything for 30 years in the grand scheme of things.
That is very true. I mean, did we ever imagine we would look up and say the Cowboys aren't the best team in Texas? Like just thinking about that over the years, an expansion team comes in 2000, and now we're sitting here in 2024 and it's not even close right now of when you watch this Houston Texans team and the Cowboys team of who's a better team now, who has a better outlook going forward. It seems like it's all Houston and what they've been able to do with, Nick Caserio coming in, hiring DeMeco Ryans. Like, we kind of forget that it was only a few years ago where Deshaun Watson was their starting quarterback and all of those court cases come out, and it's just like, man, this Houston Texas team, like, where do they go from here? They trade Watson, and it's just like, this is going to just get worse. And you see this team quietly going about almost like they were trying to avoid all of the media attention they were getting for a while and just build a productive team. And all of a sudden you draft C.J. Stroud, you draft Will Anderson Jr., you draft Tank Dell, and you get this core nucleus and Nico Collins and all of these young players are in there. You make a couple other moves. Joe Mixon comes in, and you look up. You have this team that I think they're still trying to figure out some things, but we're only a year and a half, a little over a year and a half into this, and you have this team that looks like they have a chance to be a really good football team and organization going forward. And it looks like the Cowboys on a whole other downslide. And I thought one of the most interesting things about the game last night was Troy Aikman on the broadcast goes, Cooper Rush now has thrown the ball 40 times. Talking to Mike McCarthy earlier this week, he said they will not win this game with Cooper Rush throwing the ball 40 times. Cooper Rush threw the ball 50 times. 50 times last night of this thought of, hey, we can't play that way. And then you look up and you play that way. And then I look and I'm like, well, Rico Dowell had 10 carries. Joe Mixon, 20 carries for 109 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like, the Houston Texans played the exact way that the Cowboys wanted to play. Who would have thought Cooper Rush would have had more passing attempts, 55, than C.J. Stroud's 34 passing attempts, when we all know C.J. Stroud's a better player than Cooper Rush? And to think of this is in the fourth quarter. It's a 10-point game. Like, there's no reason why. It's not like they were down, 5 touchdowns a whole game. Like, yes, Houston jumped out to a lead, but the Cowboys cut into that lead right away and made it a 2-score game or less for a lot of the game. So it's not working out. I think the things that they're talking about and they're trying to build up in practice and take to the game, then they get to the game, it's not kind of flowing that way. So it's just so many questions that need to be answered on the football field that when you're trying to do all the other things, it makes the football field fall further and further down the priority list, which then in turns you into a team that had one of the best records at home the previous 2 years, and you look up this year and you count the playoff game from last year, you're like, what happened? How do you – I get maybe your team's not the same year after year, and you can't execute at the same level. You lose some guys, but what has happened where you seem to get embarrassed at home more than anything? That, to me, is a bigger issue for the Cowboys than just the players in the locker room.
And back to that point about the blowout loss in the playoffs last year, this is the moment that it really crystallized for me that Mike McCarthy does not nearly pay enough attention to details as a Bill Belichick or a Sean Payton or other detail-oriented coaches do. When he said after that blowout loss to the Packers, no one saw this coming, my reaction was, you're the one who's supposed to see it coming. You're the one who's supposed to envision all the different ways something like this can happen. You're the one who's supposed to be doing the deep dive into the film of the Green Bay Packers to understand that the second half of the season, they found something on both sides of the ball and became a much better team than the team that was dismissed pre-Thanksgiving. That's your job. You're the one who's supposed to be unable to sleep at night because you're thinking about how all the different ways a 12-5 record for the third straight year can come crashing down on you again. You're the one who's supposed to see it coming. The outsider doesn't see it coming. You're the one who's supposed to identify the possibility and keep it from happening. That was a moment I thought Jerry Jones needs to fire this guy. He just needs to fire him and move on. If Jerry Jones really cared enough about winning football games and didn't want to have to pay Mike McCarthy to not coach football for him. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.